2.5 million square miles, from the Antarctic to the tropics, with dependencies in every continent and every ocean. The people of Britain are directly responsible for the well-being of all the people of the colonies. There are 60 million of them, men, women and children of every race, color and creed, with 100 different languages, hundreds of different customs and ways of living. To guide and develop this vast empire is no easy matter. Hong Kong in the Far East, with its constantly shifting population of Chinese, presents very different problems from Fiji and the islands of the Pacific. Malaya, where the subjects of Eastern sultans live side by side with Western industrialism, and Ceylon, where the traditional occupations of the East continue unchanged under Western forms of government. Africa, home of more primitive peoples, with colonies spread from the Indian Ocean to the South Atlantic. The Mediterranean, stormy Palestine, disputed by Jew and Arab. Gibraltar and Malta, naval bases and guardians of Britain's shortest route to the east. In the New World, Bermuda, the Bahamas, and the West Indies, islands of the Caribbean Sea. On the mainland, British Honduras and British Guiana.
The British taxpayer gives a helping hand to the colonies. In the next few years, £55 million are to be spent on their development and welfare, striking proof that even in the midst of war, Great Britain does not shirk her responsibilities to her colonies. Britain's plans for her colonies can best be understood by seeing how they are applied to the native people in one area of British Africa, Kenya Colony, the mandated territory of Tanganyika, and the Protectorate of Uganda. Here in 700,000 square miles, 30,000 Europeans and 80,000 Indians live side by side with 12 million Africans.
They are people who live by the soil. Some tribes, such as the Wakamba and the Maasai, herd their cattle on the plains. Others, such as the Luo and the Kikuyu, are tillers of the soil. This simple life under the hot African sky was once a life of fear and uncertainty. Hostile tribes ravaged their neighbors' villages and cattle.
British rule has brought peace. The enterprise of European officials and settlers and of Indian traders has opened up the country. But there is still a long battle to be fought with ignorance, poverty, and disease.
The squalor of the villages and the lack of proper food still make their communities easy victims to the diseases of the tropics. Such are the problems Britain is trying to solve in East Africa. In these lands, where there are so many changes to be made, much can be achieved by money and the initiative of the white man. Today, rivers are harnessed to bring electricity. Harbors and docks, these are at Mombasa, open up trade. Bridges carry the new roads and railways into districts cut off for years from the march of life. A good medical service is essential. The service of hospitals and village dispensaries is being steadily expanded. Minor casualties are treated in outpatient departments by native dressers, serious cases in well-equipped hospitals. Fear and suspicion of the white man's health services are rapidly breaking down, and in this, the testimony of the mothers who use the maternity centers is a powerful help. In Kenya, 1 in 24 have their babies in these centers, and in the Kiambu district, where this hospital is, the figure is as high as 1 in 5. The tsetse fly infests nearly the whole of tropical Africa. It kills cattle on which many tribes depend for their living. This small fly has closed vast areas to man. 2/3 of Tanganyika cannot be lived in because of tsetse. At 8 different research stations, scientists are studying its habits and movements and trying to find ways of destroying it. These men, using special traps which look like cattle to the tsetse fly, are collecting specimens for experiment in the laboratory. There are 21 varieties, and each must be dealt with separately. Tsetse also kills man. It causes sleeping sickness, a deadly disease attacking the central nervous system. In 26 years, human sleeping sickness in British East Africa has been almost wiped out. These people are Baganda, who have been summoned by their chiefs to one of the frequent medical inspections. One of the first signs of sleeping sickness is a swelling of the glands. In doubtful cases, a blood test is taken on the spot. Motor cars may carry infected tsetse from one area to another. To prevent this, the government has established fly posts on the edge of every infected area. Most Africans suffer from malnutrition. Sometimes they don't have enough food. Generally, they lack the right sorts of food. Often, they don't use properly the foods they have. As a result, many of them are not strong enough to resist disease. To all doctors in Africa, nutrition is the basic problem. But doctors cannot solve the problem alone. The veterinary officer teaches the Africans how to improve their herds. Here at Ngong is a stock farm where natives come to learn how to increase the yield of their cattle. The agricultural officer teaches them how to grow the foods they need, and at demonstration farms they can see with their own eyes the practical results of modern methods. The tribes who own cattle are learning how to prepare hides properly. These Maasai have learned to dry their hides in the shade by stretching them on wooden frames. Better hides fetch better prices. But the tribes whose main livelihood is their cattle cannot battle unaided against a disease like rinderpest, which can decimate their herds. This Maasai chief brings all his cattle to the veterinary officer for anti-rinderpest serum. When cattle diseases are controlled, herds increase. The result is that the pastures are grazed too heavily. The soil is overworked, and a new problem has to be met, the problem of soil erosion. There is no longer any grass to hold the soil together. The rains come and wash away the soil on which the life of every African depends. Sometimes it's washed away in sheets, leaving a flat desert. Sometimes the rainwater cuts deep gullies in the earth, making the land utterly useless. Governments are trying many different ways of stopping erosion and of reclaiming eroded land. Ridges are made which follow the contours of the ground and prevent the earth from being washed away. The natives themselves are learning to make these ridges on their own small holdings. They are being taught to shift the cattle more often from one grazing ground to another. At Kongwa, in the country of the Wagogo, the cattle are grazed for 7 months on the home pastures. Then the chief gathers together his people and they drive their cattle, 7,000 head, out to new pastures. The Wagogo asked the Mpapwa veterinary station to organize this scheme, and officers from the station come to supervise the opening up of the new pastures. All real progress depends on education. Africans are eager for it, so eager that governments cannot keep pace with the demand. The missionaries led the way, and now government schools are becoming increasingly available. Elementary education is not enough. Africa must have her own doctors, nurses, teachers. At Makerere College in Uganda, Africans can specialize in medicine, teaching, engineering, and agriculture. They will be leaders and teachers in the new Africa which is coming into being. It will be for them to combine the new knowledge of the West with all that is best of their own culture and traditions.
This is the national and also the Empire Program. The Right Honourable Malcolm MacDonald, His Majesty's Secretary of State for the Colonies.
We who are responsible for the government of the British colonial empire are engaged upon a great adventure. The task is enormous. The problems are innumerable. We sometimes run into troubles, and our ultimate goal is still far away. Let us, in this present generation of colonial servants, see to it that the millions of our fellow citizens in the colonies are better off when we lay down our responsibilities than they were when we took them up.
Behind the new life which today is coming to communities all over the empire lies a serious plan. The giving of responsibility is an essential part of Britain's policy in Africa. The first step towards self-government is to delegate responsibility to the councils of local tribes. Much of the progress in social welfare is in the hands of these councils. Everywhere in East Africa, the chiefs administer their own courts of justice. The judge is the tribal chief. These two natives are disputing the ownership of a number of goats.
The court has decided you must give me back the goats I paid to you, and also their kids. They had 8 kids, but you said they had only 5.
But 3 of them died. The first was taken by a hyena when it was very small. The second got a cough, and although we put hot irons on its stomach, it died. You can ask Kenyatta and his wife. They were there when it died.
Agricultural exhibitions are held in many districts in East Africa. These shows provide opportunities for important educational work by all departments.
For weeks, officials have been preparing dramatic exhibits on housing, health, cattle, and crops. The great day arrives. Africans come in their thousands. The show is attended by His Excellency the Governor.
Flies kill babies. Flies carry illness and death. Kill these flies. Fly your houses and drive out death. Have you got malaria? Come and see how you get malaria. More money for your hives. More hives mean more money. Your cattle are dead. They are small and sick. I will show you how to have cows like these. Come and see my dirty village where everyone is ill and poor. Look at the houses. They are dark and small. Come and see my clean village where everybody is happy and healthy. There is no dirt for rats and flies. Here the people don't sleep on the floor among goats and chickens. They sleep in beds under nets. They won't get malaria from mosquitoes.